Yep,
All right.
hear you good. Hey,
Hey,
Scott.
Andy. Hey, there's Andy. Hello, Andy.
Hey, Steve. How you doing,
Great.
buddy?
Well, good. Welcome to the Wednesday Trade of the Week, Hump Day, the middle of the week. Thanks for showing up, you guys. I know it's the evening in a lot of parts of the country. It's only 4:30 on the West Coast here, so it still kind of feels like a work day, but I know it's 7:30 on the East Coast, so again, thanks for showing up. I don't know if we're going to have enough time to get to everything I want to get to today, so let's just kind of start moving. The disclaimer, you remember, as we say every week, we are not licensed, test taken, test passed, Series 763, whatever, RIAs. We don't do that here. We are a software as a service company, and we are content publishers. So what we're doing is showing off the technology of trade ideas today and talking about a few possible setups and ideas, but it should by no means be construed as investment advice. That's unique and subjective to everybody. So if you're looking to how to handle your money, call the right people. You're not alone with trade ideas. You know, we constantly remind everybody that we have an onboarding system here that really is, you know what, I gotta have to close my windows because I think the jets are getting a little loud. The Blue Angels are coming to town today, and I think they're arriving. That's what they do every year. They arrive on Wednesday night. So we'll just try and cut some of that F-18 noise out. You're not alone at Trade Ideas. We've got 4 webinars a week, this one included. We have the live trading room moderated by Barry Einerson, who does a wonderful job of explaining the product, trading his own account in real time, and answering questions for everybody. You know, this thing was around 100 attendees last year. It's up to over 600 average easily in the mornings these days. And it's a free room, and we're able to subsidize it by the subscription and the wonderful technology we have. So what I'm hearing is a lot of good chat rooms are having a hard time keeping up with free, because free is a really good price and people are really loving what we're offering here in the live trading room. And then, of course, the one-on-one onboarding. You know, if you're thinking about trying a 1-month trial of Trade Ideas, we don't offer a free month, but Scott's going to show you a great promo at the end. And if you consider the net discount after the promo code on a standard subscription, you're going to be getting a one-on-one with any one of us here at Trade Ideas. It's a desktop sharing session for 1 hour, gets you going right in the right direction, customizes everything, answers all your questions, and people come away from this thing feeling much less overwhelmed with the product. So that's a great value in itself. So it gives you the ability to try the product under those conditions for 1 month, and then if you decide after 30 days it's not for you, well then, you know, you got a great value for 30 days. But again, we pride ourselves really here on the onboarding and the customer service and continued concierge, if you will, keeping people going in the right direction. The agenda for today is much like many days. We'll throw a couple of special items in there, but market recap, a lot of interesting things to talk about out there. We got our catalyst today in the form of no rate cuts, which is very brave of them to kick the can until after the election and not have to stick their neck out, but that's a different story. The footprints in the sand seem to like that result today, so we'll take a look at that. Holly the AI had a wonderful day today. We'll talk about some Holly recap stuff. Trade of the week, CVI is live since Monday. A couple of new scans and new concepts to show you. I'm going to pull the curtain back a little bit on the veil as to how some of these base strategies actually start off and how then they wind up getting into the Holly combine to see if Holly can actually make sense of a strategy and get it to fit her criteria. And then we'll set price alerts as we always do. I've got a few notes there. And then time permitting, you know, we do have a web version available for those that don't know about it. I'm going to show you how to log in and use it. And we've had a couple of advancements and a couple of promises for more advancements in the near future. So a bit of an update on that. So let me just click into Holly. The AI performance is the green line versus the blue line back here for reference. This is our Brexit volatility. And a lot of changes went into Holly since then, new strategies and new risk parameters. But boy, SRPT was a nail. Just nailed it. Holly nailed that thing on Monday, and that's why we're having an explosion here in the Holly performance from a couple of really good days. And today included on a much more broad-based, but we'll talk about that. So let me pull this aside and start with the market recap. SPY, we'll get to the trade of the week there. But on the SPY, these are the lines we've been using. We even put in a worst case scenario down here. But what happened today? Well, we finally got what the market was waiting for, and was painting itself into a corner, waiting for the catalyst to hear from the central bankers and the Fed that the patient is going to continue to receive more heroin and more crack cocaine and more junk, keep the interest rates low, and keep the market happy. And so that's what the footprints in the sand are telling us. So because of that, I feel like we kind of dodged a bullet of this level down here, but let's just go ahead and keep that level in. I'm going to make a couple of adjustments here. I'm going to pull this line out. It no longer seems really relevant. This line also, was good support back here, but we closed above it today. I'm going to try and pull out some of the noise. We're going to keep it at that. This was prior resistance, and then it became support. So I'm thinking this is an interesting level down here, 212.50 up to this 217.50. We'll see where we go from there. But again, I think the catalyst today may have tipped the hand as to where we want to go. The market didn't like what it heard. We very easily could have broken down through this level. But there's one more thing that I don't know if I've done on the Wednesday webinar yet. We did this on the Monday webinar, but we get too caught up sometimes on the broad-based SPY, SPY, S&P 500, which includes a lot of different diversities and a lot of financials. But what's really leading this rally is if we look at the Qs, we have a little different story going over here, guys. So this can create a bit of a bias to maybe drag the rest of the sectors higher. This looks nothing like the spiders chart that we've been looking at recently. Yes, it had its correction, but the Qs were extremely buoyant. So what we've got is technology really kind of showing the bias once again that this thing could be breaking out, and technology QQQ might establish itself once again as the leadership. What are you thinking, Andy? Anything interesting?
Oh yeah, I totally agree. That's the Qs are leading the way there, and there's a reason behind the way you have all this money moving back and forth in between sectors. And I mean, you take a look at X, which the steel sector was really hot a long time ago. It's finally getting a bounce down here, but look at the drawdown it's had since its highs back in July, and it's just your typical nowhere else to put money. I was talking to my father-in-law the other day, 83-year-old man, he's loaded up on equities, and I'm like, man, you should take half off. He's like, there's nowhere else to put it, and that's what happened. And this is you have the central bank induced free money policy, and there's just nowhere else to put your money in equities, and thus when it comes out of one sector, it doesn't go into bonds and it goes into other equities, and that's why you see these sectors just kind of vacillating back and forth. When we call it one sector will take the baton for a while, like technology. 3 months from now, you could see technology selling off, and you can see the steel sector, the oil and gas, whatever. It's just that the baton continues to be passed, and as long as we have this free money policy, unless we have a black swan, who knows? Who knows when it's going to turn? But that's
yep.
That's
yeah. Andy's father-in-law is a microcosm of millions of Americans out there. Where else can I put my money? And that's what the Fed has wanted all along: is to force the issue of driving up the equities market and bringing up the 401ks and kind of bringing a nice peaceful feeling. But behind the scenes, you've got a lot of naysayers who are wondering how this is all going to end. But that's not really why we're here tonight. We're here tonight to talk about technologies and charting and how we can use this stuff and make it simple. So let's close that down, and let's talk about Holly today. I want to start off by reiterating something that I notice about Holly, and it's genuinely more impressive every time I see it. A lot of times in sessions, people ask me, well, Steve, how do you use Holly? There's a lot going on down there. There's a lot of grids. There's a lot of blinking lights. There's a lot of this and that. And I've said in the past, I said, well, I like to pay attention to directional bias. And a lot of times the market will find itself at 10 o'clock Eastern time waiting for maybe an employment or a jobs number, not a jobs number, but a real estate number, ISM number. 10 o'clock is our typical pivot point during the day as to, the data points. And I see Holly kind of blank, nothing going on. All of a sudden, maybe 30 seconds before or right at the top of the hour, I'll start long. Maybe they're all the same strategy. It doesn't matter, but the directional bias starts showing long. And I could say the same thing for when I've seen short. So a bag or a handful of directional trades come out. And I'm finding that is an unbelievably accurate It's not perfect, but it is pretty accurate as to what the market is about to do once I see the directional bias Holly has. And so today was a great example for you guys that were following along, was our FOMC day. So 2 o'clock Eastern time, which is 11 o'clock Pacific, we had the volatility come back into our markets as the Fed decided that they were, again, going to chicken out and not raise interest rates. Well, that's their decision, that's their policy, but everybody says, it's election year and they don't want to get involved in that. But here's our pop right here. And right about here is a 15-minute candle. I'm going to show you something with what Holly did here. Let's isolate something because there was a strategy. It was called tailwind that showed itself. I'm going to sort it. It had a it had a 926 trade, but after that, 1101, this is when the Fed came out, low 2, 10, 14. So in the first 24 minutes, Holly spit out about 6 or 7 longs. In the meantime, that's 6 or 7 minutes. I'm watching this one big candle here going, okay, I know how Fed days are. I sure hope Holly sees something that I don't see. Then the red candle comes, oh boy, this is going to get interesting. But then the green candle came again, and then the market decided the direction it wanted to go. And once again, Holly demonstrated to me that when you notice in a point in time when a bunch of trades rush out, whether it's one strategy or a couple different strategies, but they're all in the same direction, pay attention to that directional bias. I've seen it work so well to where it's like if you're still thinking on the fence, gosh, I don't know, are we going long or are we going short? Well, we got this unemotional robot here that we're paying money for each month. It's basically telling us you probably want to go long, and she's basing that on a whole bunch of stuff that I don't see nor do I understand. I'll show you a visual of that going forward later. But again, I just really wanted to highlight the directional bias. I think that's a tremendous value that Holly shows up. So when everything's quiet and Holly's not doing much, but then all of a sudden you see a bunch of trades spit out with a certain direction, pay attention to that direction. Maybe not pay attention to the actual trades, but if you had a couple things you were thinking about, all of a sudden this AI has just tipped the hand as to where the direction might be going. Let me turn that off, that tailwind off. Another thing I thought that was interesting was, we always talk about, Holly seems like it's just spitting out day trades. Well, we've got to remind people that it's a gray box, and the idea is to take advantage of the value of the trade that it spits out. But managing the trade still does come to you. This CBYE comes to mind as an example. There's the 15-minute, and I'm going to get back to this. There's a little bit more to talk about on the intraday. But for those of you who are looking for longer-term type stuff, Holly just spit out a trade here in CBYE today. And if we look at the daily, well, I'm noticing something that basically this was a trade at new highs. This is the kind of thing that you need to be aware of as a discretionary trader as to do I really want to exit just because Holly says her time stop is 45 minutes or 3 hours or what have you. You got to look back on these daily charts and see, boy, there could be a lot more meat on that bone, and that's for you guys to discover. Is that going to be the same with every single chart? Probably not. But it's really important to continue to look out what's going on the daily chart. I'm going to take a look at a couple here. This one is interesting as well. Mm-hmm. I would never have seen this chart watching CNBC or have listened to people talk about Facebook, Google, and Amazon and Netflix. But all of a sudden, Holly had a trade in here today, and it was a nice little winning trade, 44 cents, depending upon risk on, risk off. But as I'm trying to instill here, what's the bigger picture? Bigger picture is this thing looks like it just tried to run the stop with one of my little mini washout bounces and be looking for a possible channel trade. I kind of think that's what we got going on here. So now all of a sudden, after the fact, I've got something I might want to mark up. If we can get back above, and I'll turn my crosshairs on, if we can get back above these levels right here, this could be an interesting trade to create a price alert on. And I'm just going to go ahead and create that trade and call it Holly. And there's a few instances where you can do that, on these trades. Don't just look at them once and leave them and let them go. There's some interesting stuff out there that can be done. So I marked up that one. AAOI I thought was another interesting one. Here's the daily chart. Something interesting to me, if you guys heard me talk about how much I love gap horseshoes, well, here's the gap. Here's the attempt to fill the gap and the failure to fill the gap and a nice momentum move higher. That's a U-shaped horseshoe, which can happen on the daily chart and on the intraday charts. And oh boy, look at this, another gap that could not be filled with yet another horseshoe moving higher. This thing's on the move, and I would have never known it had I not seen Holly trade it. So one could come through here and look at these little double high ticks, create just another kind of matter of fact. If it goes through highs, I want to know about it. That's a Holly trade. So, these things don't end, just because they come out and expire 45 minutes later. We talk about doing trade arounds and other things like that. Keep an eye on these things. It's up to you as a trader to keep an eye on it. Now, anything you wanted to add about Holly today? I mean, honestly, obviously she had a great day, and the Fed probably kicked in a lot of it because, as you can see, being long was the right course of action after the Fed came out today, and a good majority of those trades were after the Fed action. But did you have anything you wanted to add, Andy?
No, I mean, very little. I think, yeah, she had some great trades today. The tailwinds, I saw the same thing you did. I said, okay, let's see, this is going to be interesting. Holly's loading up here on this tailwind strategy. And lo and behold, yeah, I saw the same results as everybody else saw. And I agree with you. You mentioned gray box and looking at the dailies, and I can't reiterate how important it is to look at the dailies, because we always talk about especially footprints in the sand. Well, the real footprints are on the daily. 15-minute, 5-minute, they're great for entries and intraday trading, but there's some really good opportunity, to play smaller size and let these things work for you for a few days. For those that do not want to get into the alpha, low float, mega moving, intraday moves. There's a lot of money can be made buying 200 or 300 shares and hanging on to these things for 2 or 3 days.
Mm-hmm.
I did want to address a question from Susan. I'm not sure. I don't think AI. You may have misunderstood that, Susan. As of right now, I think she does close all her days, all her trades on the day. Maybe they were talking about some concepts or there.
Yeah, I didn't catch that. I was in that webinar, but I didn't catch that. But yes, the AI closes all trades at the end of the day. But again, looking at that CYBE example, sometimes we have to ask ourselves, do we really want to exit here? This is a nice, 52-week high in my book. This thing's cranking. Do we really want to jump off too soon, or maybe just take half? But once again, please keep an eye on that daily chart. I wanted to talk a little bit about one of the strategies that, it's one of my strategies because I inputted it, and so it's like watching my kid play soccer. But quarterback here. Quarterback had a decent day today, $1.26 on 3 trades. And while I'm looking at it, I basically just sorted here by our winning strategies. Boy, 100% win on those 3 trades, 90% win on 10 trades, 75% win on a really, really decent win percentage turnout today for across the board. But occasionally you'll see something on here called quarterback, and people don't really understand what that is, and I get that, and I want to explain a little bit about what that is going forward. So I brought up the quarterback alert out of my cloud, and let's just take a quick look at the configure. The reason it's called quarterback is because our event that we're using is a 25% pullback from highs on a quarterback. And our filters are, as such, pretty basic. You've got to be up 1% from the close, got to have some good relative volume, and you got to be moving in the right direction. This is a very basic, simple strategy, but it tests really well. So the 3 trades that came out today, and by the way, what I just showed you was what I gave to Holly. What Holly has now is probably 10 times more than that, but I'll elaborate on that in a minute. So 3 trades today, and we can get a real nice visual. The first one was this CBYRE, or CYBE. Here's a little bit of a gap opening. Here's a nice run in the right direction, and then the stock pulled back right there. There's a little pullback, and here's our blue tag entry and a blue tag arrow quarterback. So what the quarterback's doing is basically looking for a stock that's on the move, pushing higher, but we all know stocks like to breathe, and if we can get a 25% pullback on a stock that's trending intraday like that, that's where the quarterback is going to trigger. So that one worked out pretty well today. If I just go to quarterback here, we can isolate the second 2. This one was double L, Lumber Liquidators. So it's this candle right here, which we can see is a very volatile candle. So it moved up, made a high on the day right here, pulled back 25 cents, and then bam, right there, there's our quarterback entry. So this is what the quarterback looks for. 2 out of 3 trades today worked really well on the quarterback. I'll go ahead and visually strike that one as well. And then the third one did not do what Holly expected. It was basically right here. Here was our pullback. And then Holly stopped out on the, basically this was a time stop. This didn't go very far. But for the most part, 2 out of 3 was a really nice strategy. So I've had a few people ask me what the quarterback strategy is, and that's a great visual right there, that little pullback intraday. All right.
Can I add something there, Steve?
Yep.
Yeah, I would, and once again, guys, you look at looking for a bounce, contrarian kind of a strategy. Quarterback, I mean, even though you're playing strong stocks, you're buying on a pullback, you're buying into weakness, because semi-contrarian type of strategy. On support, another really good one. I think it has a profit factor, oh gosh, I don't know, it's way up there in the winning percentages. Like,
right here.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, look at that, 81%. Keep an eye out for those. I mean, they're really performing
Let's
well.
Take a look at a few of those, shall we?
Yeah,
Let's
sure.
On support, but we're just going to dial in on support. We had a few of them today. Here is what Andy's talking about. There's our entry. It's basically not chasing breakouts. It's finding levels of support and buying on those levels of support and then being patient and letting it work. In this market, it's so contrary. You've got to be the contrarian. You can't be the guy that waits for the coast to be clear and look to buy, the simple breakout. These guys right here got hosed. They probably got, sold out, and then, we're using the pullbacks, or Holly in this case is using the pullbacks, as we know them to be a great strategy. Let me just see if we can find one more. No, not on that one, and that one was also a bit too early. So same point, I didn't know what I was looking at here, but for the most part, this is a great illustration right here. This is our level of buying, and Holly has identified this level of support. So lots of good stuff today. Lots of really good stuff today. Okay, where to next? Well, Trade of the Week is actually what this event is called. So let's just quickly take a look at the Trade of the Week and also maybe talk about the idea behind it. CVI, let me back out here. Many of the trades that have been past trades of the week, for example, Pandora, Yelp, okay, CWEI. These were all trades that were looking for trend change reversals, and sometimes we've got to be patient, and so that's going to be the case here with CVI. It's the same type of setup, trend change reversal using a short float of 32 on only 15 million shares. That's not a lot of shares. Ideally, we had a nice breakout on the trigger. A nice follow-through would have been great to see, but we didn't get it. So stocks need to breathe, and so that's why our stop is way down here below this second low. Putting a stop below this low right here could be insanity because more than likely the price action might try and lift that rug and see if they can run any of the obvious stops. So we spell it out very clearly in the email. Use enough share size to be able to withstand a stop down here to this level. So we're just going to let this thing breathe back and forth. But ideally, this should turn into a nice trend change like the others that have. If not, then we've managed our risk and we've moved on. But this is where we are on this, and I'll mention this candle is nice. We've got a nice push at the end of the day. Some buyers came in and supported off this level, which is a very kind of simple level to see. Going back here, support, support, resistance, resistance. So it bounced off that level nicely, and hopefully it can build on that candle, and we'll make another push through. So ideally, it would be nice to have our trade of the weeks all go quickly, but not. Doesn't always work out that way. Matter of fact, I'm going to jump ahead. Last week I talked to you guys about short float. We identified a couple of stocks, and this particular one, NAVE, was on the short list for trade of the week. Why didn't you hammer us on that, Andy? That's your fault. Really nice horseshoe, gap up. Now this thing is disgusting when you look at 70% short, 65 million float. Rather decent, but look at this. These short sellers got the idea here real quick. 70% short, you don't want to stick around after a horseshoe like that because that's the kind of momentum that I'm always going to expect after a horseshoe. You can see that was triggered. That was set back a few days ago. This one's been a nice one. All right. So, trade of the week, CVI, back in the middle of the range, no harm, no foul. Can you share the quarterback scanner when you're ready? Yeah, I'll try and do that, Mike. I'll try and do that right now because I've got some more stuff to show you that's, again, really interesting behind-the-scenes stuff that you guys haven't really seen yet in terms of the stuff that goes into Holly and what Holly actually does with it. All right, so that brings us to new scans. I've got a couple of new ones, a couple of interesting ones, and I'm going to take actually this moment to credit the person who's who's responsible for this. His name is Michael Nauss. Michael Nauss is a Canadian. We won't hold that against him, but he wanted to learn how to trade 7, 8 years ago and didn't know where to go, so he went to YouTube. And who did he find on YouTube? He found Steve and Andy, yours truly. And we used to do hundreds of hours of YouTube live trading back in the day. And he claims that that was just the hook that got him going, and got him going not only with trading but also with trade ideas. Well, this guy has got kind of a programmer's mind, and he's taken trade ideas to the next level. And I really want to share some of his insights with you. So in 2 weeks, Michael Nauss is going to be our guest speaker. We're going to talk about custom formulas for some of the more advanced users out there that want to take it to the next level. There's the ability to use some custom script writing or formulas or whatever you want to call them that, you know, I'm going to be learning a lot from Michael as well. So the student has now become the teacher when it comes to this. He's a great robo-trader. He's got his account hooked up through Lightspeed and does some videos. Matter of fact, here's his video channel, YouTube user Bon Para. He's got some great videos on how he uses the automated trade ideas. So he's going to be here in a couple weeks. We're going to talk about how to do some custom formulas and how to do all that. But in the meantime, you can follow him on Twitter at Bon Para, or check out some of his YouTube. So after we talked about doing this webinar, he was so nice to send me an email and say, hey, Steve, you know, I've been working on something interesting. I think you might like it. And this is what he came up with. It's called Wait for the 8, short. I like that name. And basically what he's saying is, and this is something Andy and I used to teach a lot, using the 10-period moving average. We call that the fast line. Well, Michael's using something closer to the 8-period moving average. And when a stock is in motion in one direction, trending quickly, sometimes it has a pause, and it just kind of waits for the fast-moving average to catch up. And that's kind of what's happening here in this particular alert. So, you know, we back-tested this alert. I'll just go ahead and simulate sell. And I kind of forgot what I was going to come up with, but this was the version that was sent to us, and it was such a good strategy that I immediately gave it to the development department to put into the AI combine hopper to see if we could get that to work. So let's just see how this thing backtests here. Actually, the first trade was yesterday, and it was a great trade. Do you remember the symbol by chance?
Oh gosh, I don't, Steve. I know. I remember seeing it on the chart and saying, "Oh, that looks sweet."
That was a nice one.
I can't recall it.
Just a really nice follow through to the downside, and if somebody can chime in, they can chime in and recall, but it was one of the bigger winners yesterday. So here we've got 1,000 trades at 2.03 profit factor. Not bad, but nothing to write home about, and nobody, honestly, we can't follow 1,000 trades over 60 trading days. So this is what Michael gave me. So check this out. This is kind of interesting. We look at configure, and we can see a thumbnail. This is breaking down from support which is our event. And then we got a few minimum categories here, and then looks like 3 maximum categories. This was what we call the base strategy. We feed these base strategies that have 1,000 trades or 1,000 returns into the artificial intelligence, Holly, which right now is going through about 30 different strategies, constantly re-optimizing and rerunning, adding her 2 cents. So check this out. This is the exact same strategy, and this is what Holly decided she wanted to add to it. All right? Oh, thank you. This is what Holly decided she wanted to add to it. So compare it to what we just had. And you guys can see now the immense amount of additions and subtractions and tweaks. And I can guarantee you that this strategy is a couple days old. It might even be different now. But I want to show you the difference between what a base strategy with 1,000 trades looks like versus what actually comes out. This is the actual strategy from a couple days ago. And if we back test that, what did I do? Let's back test that. Sorry about that. Simulate sell. We start to get a much more refined version of something that works with the AI that's much more usable. If I can get that to unfreeze. Look at that, it froze. Oh, there we go. Don't cancel. Okay, so now we got down to 130 trades from over 1,000. We've got a 7.67 profit factor, and we're over 80% win percentage. This is a gold star AI Holly strategy, and you guys are kind of seeing it for the first time as to what it looks like. But I can tell you that some of these filters may have been changed this evening as she goes through and continues to constantly modify. So before, after, and I believe it was, what do we got? NXST. Somebody finally gave me, was that the right strategy? No, that was not the right strategy. My bad, no worries. So there's that. Now, took it a step further, and I wanted to see what else might be in there because this came to me as a short strategy. Now, I said, well, as we've done before with many things like trend change lubricant, we can flip these upside down, the horseshoe up, we can flip it upside down and get a horseshoe down. What happens if I take the wait for the 8 Holly and just go ahead and flip it? Well, that's what I did, and now I've got a upward strategy. So this thing had kind of a unique day. I'm not going to share this because it's a base strategy. I'm going to let Holly, it basically found its way into the hopper for Holly today. But I want to show you something kind of interesting today. This thing got my attention. Shortly after 11 o'clock or so, there were some interesting trades that were coming through on here. And a couple of them were gold trades. But let me just find, like for instance, this one right here, NUGT Nugget, 2040. 2040, that's right here. That was an incredible alert.
Beautiful.
ERII, there was the alert on that one. Incredible alert. AEM, wow, incredible alert. Now, I think today was a bit unusual because of Fed Day, and a lot of these are gold stocks, and gold did have a nice run. But this is off to a really nice start as a possible new strategy. So we will have more on that in the future. But for right now, hopefully Holly can take that strategy and make it into something even more special that we don't already have. All right, what else can we talk about?
I don't think, Steve, somebody's asking for the wait for the 8 Holly. I don't think we'll share that. It's proprietary, but we would be happy to share the regular. Don't you agree, Steve?
Yes, I agree. Yeah, we can't share the proprietary one, but wait for the 8 Holly optimize. It's not that one. Where did it go? I lost it. There it is. Wait for the 8 short. This we are happy to share, and we can all thank Michael Nauss again when he comes in for 2 weeks, for sharing this pretty cool short selling strategy. I'll type it in here to the chat window. Wait for the 8. And again, this seems to be like a really nice downward momentum strategy where continued momentum is forced at the trigger point because the trigger point is kind of simulating a fast moving average moving into it. So there's the gift for you on that. Okay.
I'll tell you, I'm really excited about the Holly and the way we're feeding it to more strategies like this wait for the 8 we just introduced this week, right? I mean, just
yeah. And I had that one trade yesterday. I'm trying to recall which trade it was. It doesn't matter. It had a really nice run. Anyway, okay, what can we do next? New scans. We just took a look at a couple of new scans. Let's go into the web. This is a great time to go into the web version advancements. There's been a lot of advancements for our web version, especially for the people who have a Mac and have been kind of waiting for the HTML5. The way to get to it is, I'm going to save that. That's our custom formulas. We're going to save that from Michael's visit. The home page, you can download TI Pro and use the download version like you've seen, or you can launch TI Web. And TI Web would just ask you for your normal credentials. You go ahead and log in. And it's taking me to what we currently offer. This is new. These charts are new.
Wow. Charts are nice.
Yeah, the charts are nice. All you got to do is use the mouse wheel. We can turn off the properties pre-market and post-market because I want to show you something else. Somebody today in the Q&A webinar was talking about boy, it sure would be nice if you could take those charts and move that margin over, because we can't do that in our current charts. So these new charts are nice in that we can configure them a little bit more in some different ways. And Let me just grab that window. Let me open up my load from cloud. I thought I had a layout. I thought I had a layout in here. Hang on a second. Let's just clear default layout. Well, it's it's a bit new to me too, so I'm still working with it. But here's now the charts are easily zoomed in and zoomed out using your mouse. Load from the cloud, like for instance, example load from the cloud. I just used a quarterback, which we were doing there in our downloadable version. Now it's completely transposable into the HTML5 version. So this is for people who want to just have everything kind of contained into one simple web browser, and you can save these layouts, and it works very well in conjunction with the cloud, going back and forth. But the charts are a bigger improvement from what we've had before. And the big announcement, don't hold me to this, but I heard through Brad Williams that the fourth quarter, probably November, December, Holly is finally going to find her way onto the web version. So it'll be pretty much a complete version for the web version. The people who don't want to use partitions on their Mac will probably get a much better user experience out of this. And I want you guys to kind of, even consider the idea of, containing these windows. We're getting closer and closer to trade ideas on mobile, trade ideas on an iPad, much more graphical user experience. So you'll notice that when I log into Trade Ideas Web, I'm good to go here. I got my green symbol, but what it did is it logged me out of my downloadable version. So to get back to the downloadable version, you just need to exit the web and reset your connection.
But Steve, now those windows were free floating inside the web version.
They are. For some reason, I think I opened a channel or a preconceived layout, but I was working with it earlier, and I was moving windows all around. But I thought I had saved my correct layout, but I didn't. It's still a new version to me. All I've ever used is the downloadable version. So, as this thing
that looks really crisp, man. I'm really impressed with that.
I like the charts. I like the charts.
The charts. Yeah, even the alerts. Yeah, they look bad.
Can't do that here, but we should be eventually. All right. Okay, so let's finish up with. Let's look at a little history here. Last week, I left you guys with a few things. I like to talk about what's working and what's not working. Well, I haven't done much of my price alerts other than to see this short is not working, a trend change lubricant short, which we threw in last week just to try and keep it mixed. So the feedback here is telling me that that trade is not a good trade, still a short on the trend change lubricant. What is working? The squeeze me. I think the last thing we gave you guys last week was CWEI, that this thing was making 52-week highs with 70% short to float, and it just keeps going higher. This thing is insane. I don't know why those shorts don't cover. But this is the kind of movement you get when you only have 5 million shares in the float and about a 56% float of that. That's not resolved itself yet. So that one worked out really well. Here's what I'm going to do. We're going to go ahead and just see everything on the 14th. I'm going to turn off working, so all we can see is triggered, and we'll sort by date. So, nope, wrong. We got to turn off working and leave on triggered, sort by date. Last time we all met was the 14th of September, and it looks like just these few trades triggered. CWEI triggered. We just looked at that for $6. The short that I had in there that we threw in, I mixed. It didn't work, not working. But the remaining three here, the TCL, 19% and 29%, these are both working. And for some reason, Myogen didn't. Let's take a look at Myogen. The fake out. There was our obvious line. It took one day above that line and then just kind of fell back into the wasteland. It looks like it's trying to dig in and maybe make another attempt higher, but that one certainly was not the one that we wanted. But this one was very similar chart that we just looked at, yet this one decided to follow through. So the trend change lubricants, they're still working. Here's AGIO. I tweeted this one the other day, and oh my, look at this, another horseshoe. You guys got to really try and get ready to identify these, whether it's AGIO or NAV on the daily. When the shorts don't get their gap fill and we move back to highs, watch out. That's a tremendous momentum type of scenario. AGIO was a really nice fill. And then CVI basically got in there as trade of the week. So that's what's still working. Some of these short squeezes are still working. The short breakdowns are not working. Let's take a look at how this one looked. Oh yeah, there's the fake out. There's the breakdown, get everybody short, and the market that we have and know so much and love so well. Boom, reverse. Water, ball underwater, break it down, run the shorts, and reverse. I'll tell you what, guys, at some point in the future, this trade will start working. But for right now, it's not working, and the price alerts remind us of that. All right, so let's set some new ones. I've got about 7 I want to look at. I'm going to start with the first 2 of them are discretionary, meaning these are from Steve. I mentioned last week that PayPal was trying to break out of kind of that triple top, and it did. It poked its head through, but then it settled back, and the way it's settling down, 3 really nice days of basing. When we get our moving averages in here, hopefully next month, you'll be able to see this is sitting right on the 10-period moving average, looking ready and poised for another move higher. So I'm going to set, not yesterday, but the day before, this candle right here. This is going to be my trigger point, 40.47, a penny above highs. Create. Call this discretionary because I just found it on my own. I don't even think I spelled that right, but that's okay. That's a long trade of PayPal discretionary. The other one is ENB, which, by the way, it's been on the price alerts for 2 weeks now, I believe. Where did ENB go? There it is down here. Here's ENB, and this started off as a washout bounce, guys. If you recall, this was the washout bounce candle. Here was our trigger, the price level triggered, and for 2 weeks this thing has been, well, for 1 week it had a really nice move, and now we're back into some congestion here. So, I mean, if I was to basically, try and draw just a simple little trend line here, let me turn my crosshairs off because that is the ticket. What I'm seeing is just kind of a nice little wedge, and this is a continuation pattern. So I'm going to want to really be sure this thing is clearing the wedge, so we're going to use the high of this candle right there. Whatever that red candle is, we're going to use the high of that. It looks like to be 44.57. So we'll go right there. Nailed it. Price alert. This is also discretionary because I found this one on my own. Just watching it and liking the way it's shaping up. So if we trade back above this level here, we should see a nice push higher. And that was really all predicated off that washout bounce candle, which, by the way, I only have a couple to look at in the washout bounces today. Rather than go back in the history, I'll just type them. POST, now ideally I'd like to see, an uptrending stock, but we just did see what happened in ENB when a stock pulls back like that and bounces. So I'm going to go ahead and use the POST as one that we could light up. Will price alerts also be available in Q4? Price alerts, Nick, are always going to be available if you're a premium subscription customer.
I think he's referring to the web version.
The web version? That I don't know. We'll have to come back to that one. So we're going to go ahead and just use the high of this candle here. 78.06 is where we'll go. Create price alert. 78. Problem is, I need to know what the short float. Oh, this isn't short float. This is washout. Never mind. Washout. Washout number 1. Washout number 2 is SORL. This one did have a really nice move and basically filled that gap and washed out a lot on this particular one. This has got some volatility behind it, so you might, when you see charts that are moving this far, this fast, play with maybe smaller size because the moves can be swift. But this very well could have been, the washout for everybody that bought up here on this topping tail. So we'll go ahead and just type in 406 as the new price alert on a washout bounce. Ideally, those candles should drift higher for a few days after they trigger. The last washout bounce I had was GIS. This one I'm not as excited about, but still very interesting candle there that really seemed to have washed a lot of people out. Oh, and by the way, just so you know, all of these ones I've shown you, for those that don't know, the first 15 minutes is where the washout has to occur, SORL, same thing. Everything I'm showing you, it's the washout bounce in the first 15 minutes. That is the signature thumbprint of HFT stop hunting. So we'll go back to GIS and finish up. Yesterday's high was 40. Today's high was 37. Let's just go with yesterday's high. We'll go 41. Washout. All right. All right, and the only two that I have left are from the trend change, and the first one is RVNC. So what we've got is 34% short the float, and here is a very trend change lubricant looking type chart trying to base and move higher. We had a really nice move yesterday and 3 days of sideways action. What I'm thinking here is this thing just wants to kind of work off the steam going sideways over time because it really didn't give back much price. So I'm kind of curious to see what happens if this thing can get back above the high of 1719 with a short float like that. It could be a nice continuation pattern. And as I said, it's 34% short the float. So I give myself trend change lubricant, 34%, so I know exactly what it is. If it triggers, I'll know where I found it. Last one of the night is also a trend change lubricant, BRS. This one is going to be a little bit more above where we are. You know, you could put it here. You can see it failed to get through today, but right after this level of resistance, we've got this big level here. So we're going to call that 1393. Now, ideally, what I want to see on this is maybe let this thing churn around for a week or two, because we don't want to see it burn up all its energy getting to that line pushing through. It's not going to have a whole lot of energy to get left to get through it. BRS is 38% short the float. So just again, ideally, I'd like to see it maybe come up to this level, then maybe move sideways for a few days, gather some steam, reward the troops, and then make a push through that 14 level. It might not happen immediately. If it does happen tomorrow, I'd be suspect because I think it's too much, too fast. But at some point in the future, that's going to be an interesting level. All right. That's what I got. You got anything to add, Mr. Andy?
No, I better save mine for tomorrow since you used up a lot of content today. No, just kidding, man. Yeah, I don't have anything to add, Stevie.
All right. So our working alerts were created today on the 21st. Sorted, highlight, share, 9 selected alerts. I think there's two of them were the ones that I set from Holly earlier, so we're going to include those two, just as kind of a special edition. Okay, 9 selected. No, do not delete. I almost deleted that. Can you believe that? Let's try again, Steve. Share, 9 selected alerts. Copy all. Dropping into the chat window. Alerts and paste. So those of you on the premium service that have the ability to receive a cloud file like that receiving of that cloud file will just basically open up and spawn directly into what you currently have working in your price alerts. We'll add ours with yours, and they'll all trigger together at the same time. And hopefully, the reasonings behind those made a little bit of sense. But that's what we got for you tonight. Scott's going to show you some emails. If you forgot a question and had an email and had an afterthought, you can go ahead and send us an email at any time, and we'll do our best to respond to you. So that is it. Scott, come on in and tell them how to save some money.
Wow, is it already that time?
It's already that time.
Wow. Cool. Thanks for the great presentation. As you mentioned earlier, Mike Nauss will be with us in a couple weeks to do that special episode of a webinar all about the formula editor and that good stuff. Well, thanks for joining us, everyone. And as advertised, we do have a promotional code for you. And also, if you look at your handouts panel and expand the handouts panel by clicking on that little plus, you can download a PDF that'll include this info and also a bunch of helpful contact information on the contact page. But that code, Alpha Week, all caps, is good just through the end of this month now. And what that'll let you do is save 15% off your first year or month of premium, or 10% off your first month or year of standard. And those are our two types of subscriptions. The standard includes a lot. It includes your real-time exchange data. It includes the charting. It includes a full hour of one-on-one training, and that's all also included with the premium version. But what the premium version adds, there's a lot of sophistication. There's unlimited use of our backtesting module, the odds maker. full access to Holly, our artificial intelligence, which we went over today, and price alerts and other great features like RBI, GBI, and some other upcoming advanced features. So go ahead and subscribe at tradeIdeas.com/price. Use that code, or if you're on the standard plan, if you're on the annual standard plan, email info@trade-ideas.com to find out what you can do. And if you're on the standard monthly, just go ahead and purchase a premium plan. It'll overwrite your existing one, and you can use the code to save to start that off. Thanks everyone for joining us. We will see you next week for some webinars. Just keep an eye out in your email for invitations. Thanks, Andy. Thank you, Steve. Recording will be up later tonight. Thanks, guys.
All right, thank you, Scott. Thanks, everybody.
See you Wednesday next week. Have a good one.
Cheers, guys. Bye.